Hello, AP Euro. My name is Mr. Peffer, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the English Reformation. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this. So the Reformation in England is going to be instigated or started by King Henry VIII. And just a little bit of other stuff in the PowerPoint that you're more than welcome to look at just as a little sidelight and those types of things. Henry VIII had a problem. He wanted a male heir to succeed him as King of England. The problem is that he and his wife, Catherine, were unable to produce a male heir. So he wants to divorce his wife, Catherine, and this is where the problem starts, is he wants to get a divorce. Henry VIII, while he's still married to Catherine, falls for one of her ladies-in-waiting, Anne Boleyn. He wants a male heir, so he's going to pursue Anne Boleyn, and he wants to get married again. Problem is, he's still married to Catherine. So what he does is he has his advisor reach out to Pope Clement VII to ask for an annulment of the marriage to Catherine. He believes he does have some grounds for the annulment. Unfortunately for Henry VIII, Pope Clement VII has his own problems at that time. The troops of the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V had sacked Rome at the same time. So Clement is in no position to grant an annulment to Henry, since Catherine is Charles V's aunt. So the king's advisors at this point tell him, hey, look, why don't you just seek an annulment in our own religious courts? There's no need for us to ask Rome for it. We can do it ourselves. So at this point, too, things are progressing very rapidly. Anne Boleyn is pregnant, and Henry secretly marries her to legitimize his heir. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, then rules that the king's marriage to Catherine was null and absolutely void, and in the same stroke says that Anne Boleyn's marriage to the king is legitimate. So from that union, we have another child that's born. We have Elizabeth. So at this point, Henry VIII has two daughters, no son yet. The official break from the Church of Rome comes when English Parliament passes the Act of Supremacy, which declares the king the supreme head on earth of the Church of England. So the Pope is no longer in charge of the church. It's now the king in the Church of England. So was there really a Reformation at this point? The religious changes that are made by Henry VIII are very small. Basically, the biggest change is who's at the top of the church hierarchy, who is the head of the Church of Earth. He's still going to keep the 7 sacraments, still going to enforce celibacy for the clergy, and the concept of transubstantiation when it comes to the communion, all right, and the celebration of the Eucharist. Thomas Cromwell, another one of his advisors, is going to at the same time start seizing monasteries and confiscating their lands and possessions. He's going to turn around, sell those lands to nobles, the gentry, and some merchants, and in doing so, they're going to generate tons of money for the treasury, and also those people that bought land are now going to be tied to the Tudor dynasty to be supporting them. Now, Henry still believes that he needs a male heir to secure the Tudor dynasty, so he's going to have his wife, Anne Boleyn, executed for adultery, and then he's going to marry Jane Seymour, his third wife. And then the two of them are going to produce a baby boy who is named Edward. So when Edward becomes the king at age 9 after his father dies, because he's so young, it's going to be a regency ruling for him. And at that time, Archbishop Cranmer and other members of the Church of England are going to move away from Catholic traditions. So they're going to move more towards the Protestant traditions that are coming from Europe at this time. So they're going to pass new legislation. Parliament's going to pass new legislation that's going to allow the clergy to marry. They're going to eliminate images, and they're going to authorize a new Protestant liturgy or service that was spelled out in the Common Book of Prayer. And they're moving closer to Protestantism that you have talked about already with Martin Luther and a little bit of John Calvin. So Edward is going to die at a very young age. You can see that he only rules until 1553. At that point, he's replaced by his older half-sister, Mary Tudor, who is the daughter of Catherine, who was raised Catholic, And her goal was to return England to the Roman Catholic fold. She's not going to be successful. A couple of things that went against her. One, she was married to Philip II of Spain, who is the son of Charles V and future King of Spain. And also, while she is the queen, England's going to lose their last possession in France at that time at Calais. She will earn the nickname Bloody Mary because she's going to sentence over 300 Protestants to their death at the stake for being heretics. Now, Mary's going to be replaced by her half-sister, Queen Elizabeth, who's going to rule from 1558 to 1603. And then at that point, when Queen Elizabeth dies, the Stuart monarchs will take over, and you'll talk about that in the upcoming weeks. So the thing about Queen Elizabeth is she's going to base her religious policies on moderation and compromise. This is going to make her a term that you learned when we were talking about France and Henry of Navarre being a politique, where you're going to place politics before religion. And that leads us to the concept of the Elizabethan settlement. It's the idea that publicly everyone worships in the Church of England fashion or the Anglican Church fashion. But in private, they're allowed to worship as Protestants or Catholics. And the reason why she does this is she wants to avoid England being torn apart by religious matters. And to show this, that she is putting politics ahead of religion, she's going to issue the Act of Supremacy, just like was issued by Henry and Edward, but she's going to change the wording so as not to upset the Protestants and the Catholics. So she's going to change it slightly. And then she will also pass, or Parliament will also pass the Act of Uniformity, which is going to restore the Book of Common Prayer, which her sister, in moving back to the Catholic tradition, had gotten rid of. Now, under Queen Elizabeth's rule, the Anglican Church will issue its 39 articles, which are the essential beliefs of the Anglican Church. So it's going to be moderate Protestantism, somewhere in between Lutheranism and Calvinism. It's going to embrace the ideas of two sacraments. It's going to, the baptism and communion, the concept of salvation by faith alone, those types of ideas that are found in Protestantism. But what's going to happen here, though, is she's going to upset the Catholics and the Puritans, which will cause more problems for England later on. All right. Thank you very much for paying attention. Hopefully this was something that you found useful. Talk to you later.